Hi, good morning. Happy Monday. Happy President's Day. Happy off day to me. I've never been off on a President's Day, so I don't really know what to think about this. It's very windy, so I don't know how good the quality will be, and it's very cold. I know it's colder where you are. I'm sure of it, but it's cold. When it feels like it's in the 20s, that's cold to me, okay? Moving on. So, as we all know, I like to be I don't know how to say it, a radiant light of positivity, okay? Yeah, that sounded like it was full of bull, didn't it? Anyway, I try to see the positive and the funny in every situation. Even in a bad situation, you can usually find something positive and something funny, okay? And that's me. I don't focus on the bad. I focus on the funny that happened after the bad. That doesn't always happen, but it happened, okay? So I know as kids we all fell, right? I know I had plenty of falls in my life. I had plenty of skinned knees. Good Lord, I flew off the front of a bicycle going downhill, and I didn't have any skin left on my knees, inside of my ankles, because apparently I'm a duck and my feet face out. My elbows, I mean everything, the skinless. It was pretty rough. What was even rougher was my brother put a fuzzy blanket on me as soon as he got me home, and my mom had to sit and pick the fuzz out of those out of those boo-boos, as if the boo-boos weren't bad enough. So we've all been there, and I can laugh about it now. Well, apparently Phoenix, she's fine, by the way. She came rolling across the street, and in her words, I thought I saw a squirrel and a car coming, and I panicked at the same time. Now this was, it was already dark. Hold on, gotta get my hand inside the sleeve. Is really cold. Ooh, you know what? I'll be back. Good night of living. Let me take them. They're not lightening up as fast as I need them to. Whoo, that cold wind hit. And buddy, I said, you need to hurry, because I was not prepared. I mean, yesterday morning I walked over to Joan's house with just a t-shirt on. And then I walked out sometime later. I don't know why. I don't know what I did. Oh, probably when I went to walk Penny. And I just had on like a flannel type shirt over a t-shirt. And then back to the Phoenix story. When she came over, I walked her home and put on that same flannel shirt. And I was like, oh, it's a lot colder than it was like 3 hours ago. And then when I walked her home an hour later, I thought I was going to freeze to death. To deathnesses. Ugh. Anyway, okay, back to Phoenix. I want y'all to understand it's okay to laugh at what happened surrounding the event, okay? Even when my mother fell down a flight of stairs and like to have become deceased, we laughed about the events that happened afterwards. We laugh. So don't think I'm laughing because this poor child fell. But you have to know Phoenix, okay? If I can teach anybody one thing, I want to teach them that it's okay to laugh, you know? Goodness, everybody's so serious these days. Well, anyway, she comes to the door, and she is just screaming, crying, okay? Now, I had the door shut, so I am like, it's like running through sand, trying to get to the door to see why this child is crying, okay? So I opened the door, and when I say there was blood trickling out of her mouth, she had the tiniest little scrape, which I know had to hurt. She had the tiniest little scrape right here, and it was not like blood. It was like spit mixed with a tiny amount of blood. I mean, it was just barely pink, but still blood. And she's holding her knee. And then she's telling me about the squirrel and the car, and she panicked, and she she was on her scooter, and my driveway has a little lip off of the road, and I think she hit it wrong. Well, anyway, she fell. First of all, I was like, why didn't you go back home? Because it was closer to home than to come on over here. And she's like freaking out, and her mom was at home, so I was like, why don't you go back home? Because that's what I would have done as a kid. I would have went back home, because I always wanted my mama to fix things. So I said, let's walk back home and let your mother look at you and make sure everything's okay. And she said, can I come back over? I said, you can come back over. And actually, I'd had the sign on the door because my back and leg were hurting because the the cold coming in. But since it was just her, Mimi had gone to her friend's house. And I thought, well, Phoenix doesn't ever want to do anything except sit on the couch. And hey, she can do that with me. So I went ahead and let her come over. Because Naomi's the one that wants to tear up the kitchen every single time. So I walk her back home. I come back home. And then here she comes running. Okay, we walk back down the driveway across the street. No limping. But she's still upset. And I get it. I was a crybaby as a kid. I get it. So she walks back home. She runs back across the street. She comes in the house. She starts crying again as soon as she gets in the house, telling me that they put peroxide on it and that it burned. So she pulls up her pant leg and shows me her knee, and there's just the tiniest little spot of where the skin was gone. And I said, so what happened to your lip? She was like, I don't know. Well, what I have finally deduced, with no help from her, is that she hit her mouth, I guess, on the driveway, and there was just a tiny little scrub mark on her lip. Then she wanted popcorn. I said, do you know how bad popcorn's going to burn if you touch it to that spot because it's got salt? And she said, put sugar on it. I said, honey, it's still got salt. It's still going to have salt on it when you put it in your mouth because it comes salted. And she was like, that's okay. I'll be careful. So she's like she's trying to take a pill. She's opening her mouth and making the most out of putting the piece of popcorn in her mouth, which was tickling me. I got to stand up for this. She's standing in the kitchen and she's telling me, I've just been falling and my legs are just crunchy. And I said, your legs are crunchy? And she goes, yeah, look. Now, she had just fallen. I had to walk like this. She moved every part of them legs, every which way they would go. And said that's how she had to walk now because her legs are crunchy. Now, that's the funny part. Well, I mean, there were other funny parts. The squirrel and the car coming at the same time. I'm like, it's dark. I don't think the squirrels are out. I mean, they pretty much go to bed when it gets dark. I don't think there was a car or a squirrel. I think she just freaked herself out. But anyway, yeah, the crunchy legs and the weird walk got me. So then we go in the bathroom and she says, well, she tells me she needs a Band-Aid for her knee, that they don't have any Band-Aids. I said, okay. So we go in the bathroom and I found a big pretty, I like to buy pretty Band-Aids, okay? So I found this big pretty one that was like tie-dyed blue and green. And I said, how's this one? And she said, that's good. And I said, okay. And I said, I'm going to put a little bit of castor oil on it. And she said, no peroxide, please. I said, I'm not going to put peroxide on it. I said, and this isn't going to burn. It's the blah, blah, blah. I said, this isn't going to burn. And she said, do you promise? And I stuck my pinky out and she pinky locked with me. I said, I promise it's not going to burn. I said, but it will help keep the Band-Aid from sticking to your skin. And she was like, okay. But she came in here and sat the rest of the night and for the rest of the hour and played on the iPad and ate her popcorn, and we walked home without a limp or a crunchy leg. So all was well, but that crunchy leg walk got me. It was the crunchy leg walk. It took me out. But anyway, when we went back out to walk back across the street just an hour later, whoo, I was like, what is happening? We have had an Arctic blast hit the state of Georgia, and it is cold. And this street, okay, so when I worked at the county, I always said that in between the county buildings was just like the Windy City because it seemed to trap the wind in between the buildings. This street is just like that. When I get anywhere near that street, especially up at Miss Tommy's, when I get near the street, that wind hits me. Good night of living. But we had so much wind yesterday that it knocked over their basketball court. I texted Bianca and I said, is your car okay? Because her car wasn't there. And she goes, oh yeah, thankfully I had not. Because sometimes she'll pull up right up to it. I tell you what, that basketball court would have taken out the front of her car. But thankfully she was parked back more. She said, I told the boys to leave it laying down until this wind is over. Because that wind was ridiculous yesterday. It was ridiculous. Oh, and then Miss Joan gave me something yesterday. Hold on just a second. She sent me a message and she said, can I come to see you or can you come to see me? I have something for you. I said, I'll come see you because my house is not ready for company right now, okay? My house is really never ready for company, but anyway, so I go in and she hands me this pretty little bag with this beautiful necklace in it. I said, well, thank you. And she said, well, do you remember that day that you saw it and told me how much you loved it? And I said, well, yeah. And she goes, well, I thought, I don't wear it enough, so I'll just give it to her. And I was like, I gotta quit telling her that I like stuff, because every time I tell her I like something, she ends up giving it to me. These are genuine mother of pearl somethings. I don't know. I forgot what you called it. And that's like abalone. My abalone has a first name. It's M-A-Y-E-R. My abalone has a second name. It's, oh yeah, O-S-C-A-R. My abalone has a second name. It's M-A-Y-E-R. Oh, I love to eat it every day. If you ask me, well, I'll say, because Oscar Mayer has a way with it. D-O-L-O-G-N-A. Anyway, she probably got it from QVC because that's where she gets most everything. And I told her I love it because I love long necklaces. And I love my grays too, okay? So I will be wearing that. I like to dress up just simple outfits, you know? You don't have to get super dressed up. Just put on cute jewelry. And everybody thinks you're dressed up, right? Anyway, that's enough of this video because I've already gone over my allotted time. So have a great day. Remember, I love you. Jesus loves you. I hope he's coming back soon because people be crazy. And I'll talk to you on the next one. Doodles.